Good morning, everybody. Ravenar here, and today we're going to be discussing the February 1st patch notes. Like always, I do want to encourage you guys to skip to whatever hero you want to hear me talk about. And as always, I do want to encourage you guys to check me out on Twitch. I'm going to post a link to that down below in the description, as well as just also reminding you guys, make sure you guys comment, like, and check out my other videos on my YouTube channel. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into these patch notes. Very first and foremost, I'm very happy about this, the Diablo change. Upon reaching level 10, he will no longer lose all of his souls whenever he dies, which is a pretty huge change. Diablo has always been in a pretty good spot, in my opinion, so I think that this is going to just help him even more. One of his big disadvantages he had was if you picked him up on a 2-lane map, you would become a giant hindrance if you lost your souls during the game. So this is honestly going to be a big change because you're never going to drop to 0 souls. You're only going to drop to 25 once you die. So this is going to be a massive change for Diablo. And then these are just a little bit of number changes. Obviously a buff to his Q level 13 and W level 13 as well. Both of these are going to be decent changes. So I do like this change to Diablo. I didn't think he was in a terrible spot to begin with, but I don't think that this buff really makes him OP. So very nice change to Diablo. ETC has always felt like he was a little bit on the weak side, so a health buff is definitely something that I think will help him a lot, as well as just a slight damage increase to Power Slide. I don't think that the damage increase on Power Slide was probably needed. The health buff was the main thing that ETC really suffered from, was just being a little bit too squishy for a tank, where if you're able to lock him down, he kind of just died. So this obviously should help him a little bit as well. It's not a massive change, but it's definitely a needed change. So very excited for this ETC change as well. And onto Malthael. So they're increasing the percent damage of his trait. Essentially, instead of doing 1.75, he'll do 2%. So increasing the percent damage is actually going to be huge. Malthael has always felt a little underpowered to me. I know he sees a little bit of play in pro games and stuff, but I think that this is going to help him maybe shine a little bit more in Storm League and potentially higher levels of play as well. So I do really like this change. Cooldown reduction for Touch of Death from 25 to 20. Amazing change. Shroud of Wisdom cooldown from 30 to 20. Also good. And just his level 16 damage bonus reduction from 90 to 60. So overall, this is going to be a good change to Malthael. This right here is going to be the key point. Everything else here, nothing too major one way or the other. I do believe that this is a nerf, which is probably to compensate for this. Obviously, they didn't want to keep a damage bonus too high with, already buffing the percent damage in general. But I think that this is completely fine. You're going to be looking at Malthael probably seeing a little bit more play strictly because of this, but it's just it's necessary in my opinion. I really saw him falling off before that, so I think this is going to be a good change for Malthael. All right, on to Yrel. Now, Divine Purpose is going to be her trait, which gives her an insta-cast on all of her abilities. Divine Purpose cooldown is reset when Yrel casts a heroic ability. So whenever she casts her alt, she automatically gets to cast this for free. This is going to be an amazing ability for Yrel. Really like this. I don't know a lot about Yrel, so I can't really speak on her talents, but we'll just go over them real quick. Her level 1, healing increase from 135 to 140. That's going to be good. Armor increase from 25 to 30. Also good. And her level 16's Divine Favored, cooldown reduction increase from 2 to 2.5, and splash damage increase from 30 to 35. They're just going to be a little bit of number tuning, but overall, this seems like a minor buff for Yrel. I know that she doesn't see a whole lot of play, so I do like that they're looking at her a little bit to maybe increase that. All right, Malfurion, Deep Roots, max mana gain increase from 10 to 14. Vengeful Roots, which is going to be your quest. Trent movement speed increase by 60%, and health increase by a little bit as well. They're just trying to make these two talents compete with Sleep Root. The mana gain is actually going to be pretty nice because you could potentially, not run out of mana as much on Malfurion. I don't think that this is just kind of a fun talent to take, getting the infinite stacking quest in your E. This doesn't really matter. The tree you can drop to, like, tank tower shots and stuff like that. So it could honestly give you a bit of an advantage there. But overall, I still think Sleep Root's going to be the one to take. Celestial Alignment, bonus basic attack damage increase from 75% to 85%. That's going to be good. Revitalization, mana gain change from 80 to 15% of Malfurion's maximum mana. So that's actually going to be an interesting change. So they changed it from a static number to a percent. I'm going to guess it's probably going to even out. I can't tell you right now which one is going to be better, whether this is a nerf or a buff. I'm going to assume it's a buff because it wasn't like he was, super overpowered before. So I think that this is most likely going to be a buff and just a lot easier way to determine what you're going to get. So I like this change as well. Level 16 Ysera's Gift, bonus regrowth healing increased from 60 to 75%. That's actually pretty big. Bonus regrowth duration increased from 3 to 5 seconds. An additional functionality on Moonlit Harmony, increased Moonfire heals by 20%. This is actually pretty huge. If you're against a team that stacks a lot, this level 16 could give you a lot more Moonfire healing. So massive change right here. His level 16s are going to be very, very strong in general, and they just buffed them. So big power spike at level 16 for Malfurion now, even more so than it already was. So very, very good change. Bonus silence duration increased from 1 to 2 seconds. So they're buffing his Twilight Dream upgrade. So I like this. Overall, very good change to Malfurion. I know that he had seen a little bit of play at higher levels, but he doesn't really ever feel like the right pick to me outside of, just being an overall good player with him. So I'm very, very happy to see them looking at him and potentially bringing him in. And I'm honestly very excited personally to play Malfurion a little bit more than I was able to before. All right, Rehgar, a nerf that we all saw coming and in all intents and purposes, we needed. So Rehgar health nerf gets nerfed by a little bit. Health regen, obviously health nerf is good, but we haven't got to the important part yet. Chain heal, mana cost increased from 55 to 60. Not a huge deal. Here's the important one. Totem health nerf from 326 to 260. This is huge. Rehgar's totem is what made him a little bit overpowered, and his duration of the totem went from 8 to 6 seconds. Very good change right here. His totem was busted. And then they swapped his talents. His Colossal Totem moved from level 7, and then Grounding Totem moved to level 1. So we'll cover that in a little bit. Colossal Totem, they didn't do anything. They just moved it to level 7. His Z armor reduction reduced from 20 to 15, and duration reduced from 2 to 1. So nerfed his Z talent a little bit at level 1. Duration reduced from 5 to 4 seconds. Healing reduced from 250 to 200. And then Healing Totem, health reduced from 175 to 125. Duration increased from 7 to 10. Healing per second reduced from 2.5. So they're nerfing all of Rehgar, obviously, which is very, very needed. So they nerfed his heal. Now, Grounding Totem got moved, and attack speed slow reduced from 40 to 30%. Spell power reduction reduced from 20 to 15. So they're heavily nerfing his E build, which is very needed. Like I said, E build was really strong, and this is going to be very interesting to see if it makes like W build or his Z build really pop up a little bit in popularity. And Purification, healing reduced from 260 to 220. Healing reduction reduced from 3 to 2 seconds. Change functionality, no longer conditionally reduces purge cooldown. Reduce purge cooldown by 10 seconds. So instead of reducing it whenever you do something, it's just you pick this talent, reduces cooldown by 10 seconds. A lot easier to not, be able to do some cheeky maneuverability and get a short reduction on the ability. And then last but not least, Pit Fighter, spell power per ally reduced from 4 to 3. Very good change to Rehgar. Obviously, as we all know, he was very strong and needed a nerf. I think that this is going to help him obviously fit in a category where he's not hopefully always getting banned. So those Rehgar players out there will get an opportunity to play him. But I do like that they did this, and again, I think it is going to be nice to see maybe W build and some of his other builds really pick up in popularity, and I would really like to see what they can do. So a good change. Another one that we really needed was Stukov. So Fetid Touch, range damage reduction reduced from 40 to 35. Quest completion required reduced from 20 to 15. And here's the big one. Low Blow. Damage bonus reduced from 125 to 100. This is huge. Low blow was massively overpowered. Long pitch cooldown reduced increase from 3 to 4 seconds. Maximum channel duration reduced from 4 to 3 seconds. Bio kill switch set cooldown reduced from 8 to 7 seconds. So just a little bit of number changes here. Nothing super big. Obviously the big one here is going to be growing infestation, which is his other E talent. Maximum channel duration reduced from 4 to 3 seconds. This is obviously pretty huge. It's a 25% nerf on this. So, you know, it won't stay up as long as it's channeling. This is a very good change. Obviously, nerfing E-Build is the best thing to happen here because it was very strong. And then his level 13, it hungers, or plings as we like to call it. Hero damage instances needed to proc the CDR is going to be 8 instead of 6. Definitely needed here. So to do a full reset on the ability, you need to get 8 stacks instead of 6. Very good change to Stukov, a necessary change to Stukov, a change that should have happened in the new season anyway. But I'm very happy to see this. Hopefully that will make him a little bit less overpowered, a little bit easier to counter with these changes. So very good change to Stukov. Very excited to see it. Azmodan, I'm interested to see how this is going to be. They're nerfing the damage on his Q, 184 to 176. And then they are increasing the damage of Q, his Wrath, his level 1, damage bonus increased from 75% to 85. Bombardment, additional targets increased from 2 to 3. All right, this is going to be a very good change here. So after you cast your Q, your auto attacks are going to hit 3 targets instead of 2, which is going to be a very, very good change. So this pairs really well with the Wrath upgrade because now you get a cleaved 3 targets instead of 2, which is going to help you split push even more. I don't know if Asmo needs this, but I can see that they want to make sure he's not only a team fight Asmo. And this is going to be the exciting one here. Demonic Invasion. Thing that they nerfed into the ground over several patches. Impact damage increased from 65 to 85. Grunt explosion damage reduced from 88 to 40, so when they explode they do less damage. Movement speed increased by 50%. And Grunt explosion double damage against hero. They're really trying to make this a team fight alt, which is interesting. So his other alt, very straightforward in what it does. This one is going to be impact damage increased, which means that it does more damage if you want to drop it on like a building, but if you want to drop it on a team fight, it's going to do extra damage to heroes. So this ability can now be used in a team fight and also can still be used on structures. I'm very excited to see how this pairs out. It's a very good change. I think it's going to make Asmo very strong. I'm afraid it's actually going to make him too strong. He might be the highlight of this patch. We'll have to see. Obviously, this is going to make split push Asmo stronger with this, as well as being better in team fights. So overall, even though they did nerf Q damage, I think that this is a buff to Asmo in general, and something I am very excited to see. Genji. This is exciting as well. Additional functionality. Landing near an enemy hero slows them for 30% when you use your D. And whenever you jump over terrain, you get stealth for 4 seconds in movement speed. This is huge. I expect to see a lot more Genji players now. And it's the sort of thing where, Genji is one of those characters you have to be very careful when you bounce. So hopefully they aren't pushing it over the edge. A good Genji player is going to abuse this so much. So I'm a little bit concerned, but that Genji hasn't seen any love in years. So they're going to give it a shot and see what happens. Stealth is going to be scary though. So I don't know how I feel about that, but we'll see. Shuriken Master, hero quest requirement reduced from 35 to 30, 75 to 60, and charge refund increased from 2 to 3. So they're buffing his quest. Additional functionality on Cyber Shield. Genji dodges one heroic basic attack every 5 seconds. So he just naturally dodges a basic attack. So this is pretty good for a Genji who is obviously very, very squishy. Being able to dodge a basic attack is going to be pretty huge. They removed a talent. I don't know what it does. Steady Blade damage bonus increased from 20 to 30%. And Sharpened Stars, Swift Strikes refund grants 1 charge of Shuriken. So he gets 1 charge of Q. And as it said here, he is a scary hero to buff, so we're proceeding with caution. We'll see. This is already pretty substantial. This is a pretty good buff to Q build. And then this is pretty huge. This is the thing that really shines to me. Obviously, some of these are going to be good like this, but being able to slow people when you jump on them, as well as giving yourself movement speed and stealth for 4 seconds is massive. Genji might rival Azmo for my hero of the patch, so we'll have to see here. Very good change if you're a Genji player, might be a scary change if you do not like going against Genji. So very interesting. Greymane, a change I'm kind of happy about actually. Wolfheart bonus reduction increased from zero point 0.5 to 0.7. That's good. Here's the one I'm excited about. Buffing his cocktail build. Additional functionality. Actually, that's on level 7. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Insatiable, additional functionality. Basic attack during inner beast. Reduced healing fountain. Cooldown by 0.5 seconds. This is interesting. Basic attacks reduce your healing fountain cooldown. I've literally never seen a talent like this before, so they might be going into healing fountain cooldown talents. This is interesting. So when you basic attack, you get your healing fountain back earlier. This is actually pretty huge because healing fountain's pretty massive. You can get it back quicker. That's even better as a Greymane player. Now here's the one that I'm excited about. Buffing his cocktail build. Will it be good enough to actually pick? We'll see. Damage bonus per stack increase from 20 to 25. Quest reward cooldown reduction increase from 2 to 3 seconds. It's still a decently hard quest to stack in my opinion, at least for your average player like myself, but you get more of a bonus when you get it stacked. I will definitely try this out. I loved cocktail build years ago before they initially nerfed it and made it not really playable anymore. So we'll see if you can kind of bring back that range Greymane play, which is more up my alley for playstyle. But very good change here and a very nice buff to Greymane so far. Running well, additional functionality, reduce dark flight and disengage cooldown by 1 second. His E, his engage and disengage gets shorter cooldown. That's awesome. I love it. And Gilnean Roulette, cooldown reduction increased from 20 to 24 seconds. So even better here. Historically, we've been happy with Greymane's talent spread, but lately he's been taking the same path too frequently. It's true. So as far as Greymane goes, do I think he needed a buff? No. I think Greymane was in a very good spot the way he is. A little number tunes here and there. I can see, wanting to spice him up a little bit. The biggest thing that Greymane needed looked at was his cocktail build. It was literally an unplayable build. So I do like that this is the direction they went with it. I don't think he needed a change. He had a very good spot in the meta where if you could pick him, you would. If you were good with him, you were good with him. So people who already picked him are going to love this. He's probably just going to see a little bit more play. But overall, good change to Greymane and an excellent change to cocktail build. We'll just see if it's enough to get it picked. Nova, a very interesting character here. Covert Ops. W. Required stealth duration reduced from 4 to 2 seconds. Bonus pin shot slow increased from 15 to 20%. So buffing is W level 1. Very good here. An advanced cloak trait required stealth duration reduced from 2 to 1. Mana per second increased from 2 to 3. I don't know enough about Nova. One of our resident Nova players will have to give their input on this. But this seems pretty good. Projected rapid projectile cost and cooldown reduction increased from 50 to 60%. Halo stability, additional functionality reduces the cooldown of Ghost Protocol by 15 seconds. So I know that this was the talent tier that you get Bribe on. So I do not know if this is going to compete with Bribe yet. I don't think so. Generally, Bribe is such a strong talent. However, if you pick Nova on a map where you're not looking to bribe, this could be a good change. I don't think that this is going to make Nova too OP. I don't think it's going to take character of the patch, but very nice change to Nova. It is good to see her spiced up a little bit. Perfect shot, her Q. Change functionality, hitting enemy hero reduces Snape's cooldown by 2 seconds and refunds half of its mana cost, doubled against heroes. And 1 in the chamber bonus damage increased from 60 to 65%. So just buffing Q, buffing her auto attacks, it's going to be really strong. Precision strike, cooldown reduced from 60 to 50. And precision barrage, cooldown reduction reduced from 30 to 25 seconds. Reduction in cooldown on that is very, very nice. I do like that they are reducing the cooldown of Precision Strike. It was a minute cooldown, wasn't too long, but obviously Nova needed some buffs to make her a little bit more viable. So I do really, really like these changes with Nova, and a very, very welcome change in my opinion. I don't know if I'll personally be picking Nova. She's not really my cup of tea when it comes to picking a character, but I'm very excited to see her get some love, because for the longest time she has been known as that meme pick that you don't really ever pick up. So it's very nice to see her get some sort of showing here. So we'll have to see. Very welcome change for Nova, however, though. All right, so Probius change. This is a change that I saw coming. My fear is that they were going to go overboard. I don't believe they did, but we're going to go over it. So they did a little bit of change in the way his pylons work. They increased the cooldown by 2 seconds. However, they added an additional functionality. Enemy heroes and minions drop minerals on death. Gathering these minerals will reduce the cooldown of your pylon by 0.75 seconds. This is pretty huge. A 2-second increase doesn't matter when you can literally kill a minion wave and get maybe like 6 seconds off of the cooldown of your pylon. One of my biggest complaints for the pylon is it felt like it took too long to get them up if you're in the middle of combat or you're trying to set up pylons to use your ult. So I think that this is going to be a very good change for that functionality. So very good change here. I love this. I think this is amazing, and obviously dropping them on hero deaths as well is going to be good, but dropping them on minions is going to be the important one that lets you keep applying pressure from the lane. Now, warp W damage increase from 100 to 120. I'm not very good with landing W's, but for you Probius players that can, this is going to be amazing. They're trying to flavor up other builds because currently the only real build you take is your cannon build, which I know that they're nerfing, so they're trying to spice up some of these other builds. Turbo charge cooldown reduction increased from 10 to 14 seconds, which is pretty nice. Particle accelerator, heroes hit required reduced from 4 to 3. Pulse damage increase from 71 to 78, so this is going to be obviously good. Shock rift damage per second increased from 30 to 35, which is nice. Cooldown reduction reduced from 4 to 3.5. So obviously they're nerfing tower defense and buffing his W and Q talents. So they're trying to make his other builds better. And then null gate damage increase from 17 to 19. This doesn't matter to me. Obviously, null gate does do a little bit of damage. The important part of null gate is the slow. Null gate's a good talent because it's on a short cooldown, and its slow is massive. This doesn't matter. Null gate was good before. However, pylon overcharge was just way better because of how they buffed it last patch. So this is honestly not a bad change. Overall, good change to Probius. Nerfing his cannon build I don't think was necessary. I don't think that this is really going to even be that big of a nerf. It is obviously a nerf by 0.5 seconds, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. So I think that this is going to be a good change to Probius. Honestly, they more or less buffed him again. Yes, they increased this by 2 seconds, but having the ability to reduce the cooldown is going to more than make up for that 2 seconds. So overall, buff to Probius, in my opinion, and something I'm very happy to see. Hopefully they didn't go overboard. Not all Probius players can land their W's consistently because of that delay in it popping. So this isn't going to really be too strong, but a good Probius player will be able to abuse that. Good change to Probius. I love it. I love the change to Probius. And here comes our Tracer nerf. 1-2 punch cooldown between uses increased from 2 to 3 seconds. Obviously it's needed. Tracer has been pretty strong. Healing reduced from 25% to 18 of maximum health for pulse generator. Also needed. Untouchable speed duration reduced from 1.5 to 1.25, and shield reduced from 8 to 6.5. Not massive changes, but Tracer has been a little bit too strong, so they're just trying to tone her back a little bit. I don't think that this is going to be that big of a deal. If you're good on Tracer, you're still going to be good on Tracer. These little changes aren't really going to do that much other than, obviously this is going to make you have to play a little bit safer. But, obviously if you can do stuff with Tracer, you're still going to be able to do the same stuff with Tracer. You just have to be more conscientious of the shields and healing that you're not getting. But she doesn't have a whole lot of health to begin with. So what 7% less health when you don't have a whole lot of health to begin with is something to keep in mind, because this is a decent percent amount. But Tracer's health pool isn't massive anyway, where I don't think it's going to be I wouldn't have died otherwise. And I don't think that that's going to be a thing, because if you get caught, you're dead, regardless of, this sort of thing. So good change to Tracer. Should help bring her down a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be that substantial. And then we just got some bug fixes here. Just normal things. Nothing really worth going over. But overall, what do I think about this patch? I like the patch. I'm happy we got one. Hero of the patch, I am probably going to have to give it over to probably Genji gets the slight edge over Azmo. It really comes down to Azmo and Genji. I'd honestly potentially give it to both of them. Obviously, we did get our Rehgar Stukov nerfs that we needed. The one thing we didn't get was a Johanna nerf, which is something that a lot of people are asking for as well. I do like the changes to Diablo and ETC. Obviously, I like the probably Probius buff. The Nova changes are nice. The Greymane changes are nice, but it's really coming down to the Azmodan and the Genji getting buffed, which is going to be pretty huge. I think I give the edge a little bit to Genji because the only real thing you can say about Azmo is that they did nerf this, and depending on how you play, these might not be a big deal if you don't like playing Demonic Invasion. This might not be considered a buff for you because they did nerf Q. They nerfed Teamfight Azmo. They kind of buffed Split Push Azmo with the side benefit of this being better in teamfights. But you're not going to be able to just stand from range and lob globes anymore. So I think that while this is overall probably considered a buff, you just have to play it in a more strategic fashion to get that buff value. So I think I am going to have to give the edge to Genji buff here. So Genji going to be my hero of this patch. But overall, I would give this patch maybe a C plus B minus. It's not anything super substantial. They took care of the heroes that needed to be taken care of, but they didn't really do anything outside of that. Obviously, bringing Genji in is going to be potentially a massive value here. But overall, I do like that we got a patch. I don't by any means dislike the patch. We're just going to say C plus B minus because there's not a whole lot of heroes in here, but I do understand that, you know, they're working on limited resources and everything right now, especially during COVID. So very nice patch, very excited. Well done to the dev team and everything that they did and everything that they do, keeping this game alive. So anyway, I do want to thank you guys very much for listening today. Make sure you guys do check out my YouTube channel. Make sure you guys do check out my Twitch channel, my other videos as well. But most importantly, have a good night, everybody.